The way Australia taxes oil and gas is broken, and if we compare our petroleum tax system to Norway's, we can see the massive opportunity that Australians have completely missed out on. Since the 1980s, Australian oil and gas revenue, shown here in blue, has grown dramatically. However, the tax and royalty revenue the Australian public has received from oil and gas, shown here in orange, has remained very low. Looking at Norway over the same period paints a very different picture. So how do the Norwegians do it?
We tax them quite heavily. It's 78% tax rate. And they told us that was impossible. But they come and invest. and we tax them and they stay.
Since the mid-1990s, Norway has been taxing the profits of their oil and gas exports at 78%. With this tax, Norway has built the world's largest sovereign wealth fund, valued at 1.9 trillion Australian dollars, which works out to be $350,000 for every citizen. The fund is so large that the returns on the fund, generally 7% annually since 1998, contribute to almost 20% of the Norwegian government budget. That's money they've invested in building world-leading health and education systems and providing services like free childcare. So what happened in Australia? Looking at government revenue from oil and gas as a percentage of the sector's total revenue, we see there's been a consistent decline over the past 3 decades. In the late 1980s, government revenue from oil and gas was as high as 57% of the sector's revenue, but has dropped to just 7% in recent years. Looking at Australia's petroleum tax, PRRT, we see that it peaked at 19% in 1992, but has decreased to just 1% of total oil and gas sector revenue in 2020. We see a similar drop in the percentage of corporate tax coming from the sector. In 1997, corporate tax paid by the sector was at 16% of total revenue. In 2020, it was just 2%. The way oil and gas profits are taxed in Australia is broken. The Australian public deserves a lot more from the sale of our natural resources. It's time for the government to tax fossil fuels properly.